Hello, Knights of the Roll Table, and welcome to our 100th episode celebration. What we did for this episode is it's actually a series of little interviews. Over the course of about a month, I talked to each of our regular cast members about memories that they have from our 5 seasons that they appreciate. I actually had a good time going back into some of the older episodes and grabbing little clips of some of those memories, so you'll hear a few of those. We also have an interview between Jeff and Chris and I. We do a little discussion of what it's been like to co-DM our epic story and how that's been working. You'll encounter kind of a weird hypothetical spoiler warning in the midst of that discussion because we talk a little bit about what we might envision for doing for the future. And even though the future of the podcast doesn't exist yet and hasn't been improvised, we may or may not have included some spoilers in talking about what we might want to do in the future. So if you want to stop listening and not be hypothetically spoiled for future episode, there's a little announcement for when that happens. And we wrap up with a discussion of the current cast and what they envision for the future. We also have a little thank you to all of our special guests throughout the seasons, and a huge thank you to all of you who have listened to us this far and supported us, laughed with us, and hung out through thick and thin. Finally, especially for those of you who have been great with sharing the podcast with your friends and sharing our things on social media like we've begged you to every single episode in the announcements. We have a kind of a anniversary giveaway thank you gift contest going on right now. So if you're listening to this pretty close to when it comes out, go to our Roll Table Twitter or Instagram or Facebook, wherever you find us on social media, and follow the instructions there to enter into a contest to win some cool tabletop role-playing game gifts that one of our lucky fan and supporters will win. So check us out there. Thank you, as always, for sharing and spreading the word. So here we go. First up, we have this discussion between Chris, Jeff, and I, where we share some of our favorite memories as players on the podcast. And a little bit later in this episode, we'll have the rest of this discussion where we talked a little bit more about the DM, the collective DM experience, and how that's going and where we envision it going in the future.
Hey, this is Chris, and my favorite moment, I think it's hard to pick one, but I think my favorite moment as a DM was the date episode in season 2.
Oh, yeah.
When everybody was on individual dates and just playing 4 different characters with 4 different individual PCs was challenging, but it was also just kind of fun just to like jump around personalities, and it was neat because like it was splitting the party in its most ultimate format. All 4 of you were separate, and just kind of like, this is either going to fail terribly or it's going to be really fun just to see this happen. And we only did like 2 scenes with each characters, but it was still pretty fun.
My memory is you did that pretty much live the way it went, and you're like cutting back and forth between the scenes was so good. You found such great moments to like, okay, we leave that, we go to Sarsa in the restaurant. Like, wow, so that was so great.
Yeah, that was edited in real time, kind of. And then so that I think that was up there. Some of my favorite moments from other players. I love, this is a kind of a bigger one, but I love just the journey of Celius as a character from Matt, just because he's such a positive hero and he doesn't have a tragic backstory. He's just like, I just want to have an adventure. And I just love that. Like, it's kind of stayed consistent. And only when I almost killed his husband, like did he get a little bit like, shut up, like he was getting a little panicked. But
yeah, that was a nice moment.
And on the opposite side of that, I like Weston playing Soot, having this anti-hero arc of generally being kind of a up to no good. And then like he has this moment where he's like ready to kill himself essentially. And just like, oh, these people actually care about me. And in some way, like they're concerned with what's going to happen. And then he kind of comes around and sort of not becomes a good guy, but at least becomes a team player at least.
Mm-hmm.
I think my favorite moment as Gravely was shooting the arrow into the chain.
Yes.
Making that insane, like, shot of just like, It wasn't even killing the big bad. It was like, I'm gonna like that Robin Hood Prince of Thieves moment, just like follow the arrow camera. And yeah, that was fun.
It hits that chain as well as it can hit that chain. So the arrow flies out, it wedges itself right in between two links of the chain, which sort of sends a ripple up the chain and into the battlements, and seems to somehow lodge XX Bloody Heart's piece of timber in just the right way by chance to cause the cranking mechanism to just like completely dismantle. It appears that the drawbridge will not go up. I didn't think about that one, but in terms of like favorite things that I've done, that might be one of them for her. Like, your plan was basically to shoot a chain. Like, how am I gonna? What? Okay, whatever. Fine, roll for it, and then you crit, and like hitting on the idea of how that could work in a comedic way to make XX Bloody Heart things that he had failed with previously suddenly work was like, I'm definitely proud of coming up with that in the moment.
The gate doesn't work. and then he became a camel, and then Coach leapt over the wall. Like, all these things happened.
Yeah, that was
sexy sheep.
A lot of things about that finale worked well because all of y'all being awesome.
Jeff,
coming up with fun ideas.
Favorite moments, either as a player or as a other favorite moments?
I'll piggyback and say that my favorite moment being a player was the cloak of camouflage, and just that it was like I just called out Zach for mispronouncing a word, and then that has become canon now, and like is part of this dumb thing that we keep doing and talking about.
This cloak is generally black in color, but it actually somewhat like has sort of like a magical shimmery camouflage. It makes you look like a camel.
Oh, wonderful.
It's incredibly good for
a dromedary
like
camel?
Yeah.
Okay, one hump.
Split toe.
Yeah.
You can choose dromedary or Bactrian. It's very versatile.
Wonderful.
Anyway, so it gives you +2
camel facts.
It gives you +2 to stealth rolls.
Okay.
It gives you it imposes disadvantage on someone trying to find you when you're hidden, and it gives you +4 to attempts to impersonate a camel, dromedary.
Wow. Wow. +4.
Yeah. No, that's a good one.
That's a good one.
It's like that's exactly, you guys know me. That's like literally my thing. Like I love the dumbest thing.
Calls it out. Well, you'd made it a thing for your character, and now that went up, and then Zach's character Igneous found that, and now he has it.
he is the camel.
So
he is the camel.
You have your own misfortune, essentially.
Yeah, it came back to me.
It came back to you, like
stupid camel.
You're wearing your own.
Igneous's moments of like, why would something like this exist? This doesn't make any sense.
But it's again, I think I said this before in another time, but like when you look at all of the ridiculous items that exist, like there is some story behind them in the like real world, in the quote unquote real world that exists. And like for this item to be in like this world is great because it was perfect for the one thing it was unintentionally designed for and used, and was a critical thing, but now is just this random curiosity.
Which was clearly infiltrating a band of rogue camels that needed to be taken out.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of ridiculous items, I have to throw in there, you're Jeff in season 3, just the shopkeeper, having the list of ridiculous, not useful magic items. And Jeff had this gigantic stack of actual cards.
But look, he picks it back up. It goes back to
it's a little walking stick.
Yeah, but then and now it's a full-size walking stick.
To help you with it lights things on fire.
No, that's all it does. Hey, how about this? This is called the letter closer. You can use it. It's like a regular letter opener, but it opens letters, and then it will reseal the same letter as if perfectly closed. How about this? Gold acid. If you got hot gold that you need to get rid of, just dump it in here and it'll instantly turn into steel. Good way to get rid of your stolen gold that you don't need. Hey, look over here. I got the ring.
Why would you devalue the gold?
Wait, just out of curiosity, how much gold would it cost to buy the gold-destroying acid from you?
6 gold.
Can you change it back from lead to gold later?
Well, it turns into steel. No.
Oh, well.
Do you have anything that's actually useful?
Of course. I've got the ring of ethereal miasma. Wear this ring right here, and this stone that's on it, it will change colors in the presence of a ghost. If you're not interested in that, how about the portrait of Madame Lawrence? This, he pulls up a big painting with a frame on it. It's very large. And it says, this curiosity has a portrait of a woman, but she's actually growing younger in it. Look at this. Brutialziti. 1 glass of this sparkling wine will lessen your weight by 25 pounds. That's a 10 gold
This
piece.
place is making my brain hurt.
Ooh, I don't want to...
And there were more, and it was just, we were dying. It was so funny.
That was a lot of fun. That was in the Giacca. Yeah, that was great. My favorite moment that I earnestly enjoyed as a listener, because I was away from the pod for some time in season 3, was that
3,
right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And the episode where you guys went into the cave where there were the duplicates of you guys that you played.
2.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. And you had to like play yourselves as somebody being an imposter of you was such an absolute treat to listen to. And, when I was listening to that, I was like, hey, this is actually a good podcast. You know what? I'm in. I'm all for it now.
That was a trippy episode.
I don't think when I was charmed, Chris gave me a little card that said this is what you have to do. But I think for that moment, he just kind of prompted us. I feel like Chris just kind of gave a nod of play this doppelganger now. And we all just kind of jumped on okay, now I have to occupy the role of this doppelganger being me and also me at the same time. And everybody just jumped on it and had fun with it.
And I had no idea you guys did that or that was coming or, it wasn't anything I had any knowledge of. So honestly and genuinely listening to it as a listener it was such a treat. And it was a great moment that all of you guys did. So that's my favorite collective moment that y'all did.
That was fun. Sarsa fighting Sarsa.
Sister against sister.
Jen role-playing herself, beating herself up. That was pretty fun.
Tries to shoot some thunder out at me and it misses, and there's just Sarsa on Sarsa, red hair flying, tails everywhere, horns God knows where.
Can we hear Sarsa fighting Sarsa?
Aye, get your hands off of me, you wee wench. Oh, I know what those hands have been. You best be cleaning up now. Oi, you smell like fire and farts.
Fake lizard coach
eating people was in there.
Eating Jarek.
Yep.
Real Jarek, convincing himself that it was the fake Jarek. That was good. Zach, what about you?
Yeah, my favorite me moments. I think one of my favorite moments, for sure, favorite igneous moment, I think, is knocking the crime lord out of the top floor and then using my new slow fall ability to glide down. And then Jeff just so grabbed that moment and just saw what was going on and added everything he could to make it awesome, which I think he did a lot of in that season. He falls in a cement mixer and it goes on him. And there's these other people around and the foreman, and they're get back to work and orchestrating being able to run a slave revolt and then run back upstairs, and then Biscuit and Iggy jumping out again. That whole moment was just so fun. And I felt it was just setting up to let Igneous shine. That moment was a lot of fun.
I knew as soon as you would add, there's some moments as a DM where player will ask something and you're just like, I see you. I see what you're doing.
And
And like, I'm going to say,
we'll make it happen.
I'm going to say, yes, I'm in on this too. You were like, how far away from the windows is he? And I was like, you're going to kick him out the window and fly down, aren't you? And it was like, okay, let's do it.
Yeah. Yep.
A reasonable distance to kick. Yeah. Yeah, definitely. You definitely could do that.
And you see him say, "No, I was going to be so much more evil. This was the right thing to do." And he slams into an open cement mixer, and it goes, and it topples over, and then it hits a bunch of bricks that were being set up to build a new part of the building, and they go, and it completely crushes him. People all start to kind of rush over, and they're looking up, and they're seeing you slowly float down. And they're like, "Oh, that was our boss. It was him." And they see you slowly fall down to the ground.
Yes. I would say also, I mean, I was thinking, whatever my favorite moment on the podcast is probably a Jarek moment, because I really love playing Jarek, but they kind of like we're all equal. I didn't come up with a specific moment, but also another moment I'm really proud of is the little sequence with the XX gang in season 3 of the portal jumping with Carol was a lot of fun, and kind of like throwing out the different scenarios and the demon and swamp monster and all of that. So a little bit similar to the dates episodes of like those like little different sequences to jump between, I think have been like fun moments. And I feel like you're kind of like including that structurally in season 5, the notion of like, pick which of these knights you want to go rescue. I think that's like very fun, high energy format. Everything's a little bit different. And the portal jumping was a lot of fun. And my favorite thing to like observe and watch, I was involved, but like the thing that I throw out to anybody who like, if I want somebody to listen to one episode, is the first one shot, Dude, Where's My Sword? One shot was so great. And Jen and Chris, you and Jen collaborating on that was just such a great job. It was so fun to be a player in. And I feel like the whole like night recording that, like it reminds me of like a home run derby of just like it's pitchers throwing a fastball down the middle so you can knock it out of the park and just take turns knocking it out of the park. Because all of us as players totally like, we get it. We get the sequence. We get the fun. And you just like kept setting us up over and over again to like nail them. It's so fun to listen to. I've listened to it several times, showing other people. I just remember making up the names of the nymphs on the spot.
Yeah.
Drimph, things like that. There was such good names.
Drivel, Snap, or I don't know. I just was like, they were ridiculous, and they talked like, oh my god, come over here in the water. Yes. You should come over here.
Jarek had a line at some point like, no, stop talking like that. Cut it out. We're not. No, get out of the water.
Him.
Hi, I'm Buttercrimp.
Hi, Buttercrimp. Nice to meet you.
I'm Lavendrip. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. Lavendrip.
You immediately.
Hello, everybody. So I am here now. This is Zach here, and I am sitting with Jen and Matt to do some reminiscing. We're doing this whole thing in chunks as we different pieces of us.
Chunks is a terrible word. Why would you call it that?
You know, big old just chunks of fun and love.
Big meaty chunks.
Yeah.
Oh no! Why not something like sections?
We're just hawking up chunks of good memories. Anyway, so as you hear, I'm here with Jen. Say hi, Jen.
Hi, Jen.
And Matt. Hey, Matt.
Hello.
And we're gonna talk, the three of us, about some of Jen and Matt's favorite moments. So we'll start with Matt, because I think he actually has one in mind. Matt,
I'm offended, but you're right.
Because we just discussed a minute ago. Jen was like, I remember nothing. I don't know. She lives in the moment. So Matt,
way to be.
For you, like what's one of your favorite moments from something that you've done in the course of our 5 seasons?
I think one of my favorite moments was when Branch reappeared after his little hiatus and came out from the island as a giant octopus and like swam across the seas, climbed up on a boat, and then yeeted a sailor off the side of the boat. One of the bad guys. That was fun. I always enjoy that. And plus, I think everyone else was like, "What? Branch is back," and that was fun.
That was a good return. I sidelined you for a lot of that season, so I'm glad we can make your return count.
It was fun. Plus,
like a literally very large scale return.
Yes, it was. I was like, "Ooh, I get to use a giant octopus form," and then I just stayed in it and couldn't.
And
talk
most of us
like
didn't even know who you were, too, because all we saw was an octopus.
Yep, which was also fun. I enjoyed that aspect of it. It's like.
Blah, 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 blah.
This pirate is running full speed towards Maya to attack her because she looks like an easy target, and then this octopus gets in front and definitely like momentum is stopped, and they kind of like stumble backwards as you overtake them and tentacle attack.
So I got a 24 to hit.
Hit.
10 damage, and they are grappled.
Yep.
He just runs, and all of a sudden you just see him go, whoa, and he like lift up and just bam.
Their escape DC is 16.
That would be on their turn?
Doesn't say, but I assume. Yeah. And then it says until the grapple ends, the target is restrained.
Yeah, so that would on their turn they can try to escape. You got anything else to do with giant octopus?
No.
All right, just the one tentacle attack?
Yep.
Cool. There, you don't get like 7 more of those?
No, I got to use all my tentacles on this one thing.
All right, cool. That person seems handled for the moment.
Or tentacled.
Very good. How about you, Jen? You have a favorite moment that comes to mind?
Oh, there's too many. I like the whole bit with Chef Gordron Ram's head was just like, it was just lovely and fun. I don't know that I was necessarily spectacular in that moment. I know I brought it up before. Actually, I really did love when we had Maya and the orcs. Because that was one of those beautiful D&D moments that like probably shouldn't have worked, but did and was totally in character and just like was a really fun way to approach, you know, not always having to go straight to like combat and head-on frontal assault.
Yeah,
didn't they come back at some point?
They did.
Yeah.
A couple times. They came and helped fight the gnolls later. And then we kind of, between sessions, forgot they were around, unfortunately. But then they went up to work with Coach, and they're up there helping them out with the mines.
That's right.
So, you know, just nice to know that there's different ways to approach combat, but also, like, I think a great example of as a DM giving player agency and allowing their choices to impact the larger world and having those callbacks was super fun. And
that really was fully one of those moments. Like I have no idea what I was actually like expecting might happen in that episode, but it could have been a fight. It could have been, I probably imagined it as probably more of a stealth mission where you had to sneak past them, but like Maya just Maya'd her way in there and it worked great.
All right, so my performance is a dirty 20.
Nice. They're very impressive.
She's
like they definitely like they went on their guard and then like kind of like started bobbing a little bit to the music and kind of dancing. They both have spears. They kind of moved along with the spears.
She's a compelling,
like
this is what.
But did they really get it? You know, like do they really get it? Because sometimes you have to listen to a song a few times to really like get the lyrics.
The OSO really set up a nice performance this time.
It's like Fleetwood Mac. Like you don't really get it on the first listen.
Yeah, so go ahead and roll persuasion also.
Oh no. That's a 9.
That's not terrible. 9 total with your bonus?
Yeah.
Oh, well, that is kind of terrible. So it doesn't look like they get it.
It was a 2, but wow. And then plus my 7.
Also, not totally clear what their understanding of. I'm assuming that song was in common and not like orc.
Listen, music is universal, Jack.
Yeah, well, they got the music, but you don't quite know what they don't send a team to be. They're not like making their own flower crowns or anything.
Out of my flower crown and present it to them.
All right, so they both stare at it, and then one of them reaches out and takes it gently from you, and then sniffs it, and then eats it. And then kind of like munches it a little bit and then like, bleh, it didn't taste good. But they're not yet. They're not in You definitely got that close to them without them like stabbing you or anything.
Fun world building, and that really, like, I mean, I know that wasn't the first time that Maya attempted to Maya things, and a lot of times the Maya attempting did not go spectacularly well. I'm pretty sure she nearly lost an eye one time, but like it was just nice. It kind of gave a glimmer of hope that, you know, sometimes this will pay off, and
it's worth it.
Just kind of reinforce that element of the character too.
It's worth it when she went wrong too. Like,
yes.
I love the moments that Maya will always try that, and if it goes wrong, she's like, "Okay, I'll kill you," but like she gives you a chance to be nice.
Yeah.
I love the idea of Maya trying to be subtle and stealthy. Like when you said you pictured it as a stealth mission. That
probably was not destined to work that way.
Hello. There's no mute version of her.
Well, so how about our other question? Back to Matt. What's a moment that you really appreciate about led by somebody else?
Actually, it was a bad thing that happened, but as a player, I enjoyed. My character hated it, but I loved when Cass betrayed us all. Because in particular, I think we talked about this in the season wrap up of that season, but Matt Acevedo was like the nicest human being on the planet, and so to have him be the person who did the betrayal was
hey guys, like
so surprising. Like it completely caught me off guard, and it was brilliant and fun, and I love Matt, so getting to play with him in the first place was fun.
It was definitely, I think, that was such a genuine reaction.
Yeah,
and that was what was fun.
It was very cool.
How about you, Jen?
I really forever ship the like bromance / competitive thing between Jarek and Massimo.
Yeah,
like that whole dynamic is just like, I literally built a one shot around it because it just brought me so much joy. So like just their whole evolution is something that I will forever dearly treasure. I also too, I was just kind of like diving back into some of the old stuff, and to bring up like a coach with that mace of switching.
Oh yeah.
To go back to that with the Aklika.
And he ate Celius.
Yeah, no, like that went so, like there was that whole like little dungeon crawl that we did that, you know, he was the giant lizard or whatever he was. Yeah. And then we had the doppelgangers.
And the moose.
And the tell me a story.
Tell me a story.
That like whole little shebang was just such a fun. It was obviously like there was challenge for the characters and stuff, and you know, we all met it in our own little ways. But yeah, I remember that mace, and just when you'd hear that clicka, it was like, oh my god, what is gonna happen now? And I don't usually get super hung up on like objects in the game, but that was one of those where it was such a cool pairing with that particular character of like, this guy is not really smart enough to OP this item that is super OP. And it was really, I think, just a special thing.
Didn't he like walk down the street as a bear at one point?
Yeah.
Like, why? Because. Amazing.
Just reasons. Yeah. That whole season was really fun.
What I shared as one of my favorite things that somebody else has done was that whole one shot, Jen, that you Chris created. So I mean, I think that's interesting to hear, because I really think of that as like where that Jarek and Massimo dynamic developed. But it wasn't. I mean, it started immediately when Massimo like revealed himself as Massimo. They fell into that dynamic. So I mean, it's cool to hear that like that. You know, it's probably minutes long exchange, or 1 or 2 minutes long exchanges between Jarek and Massimo inspired my favorite one shot, and other stuff went forward with that. I remember when Jeff like debuted his like Massimo persona when like Ramara like healed him, and she was like, I think Emily, who's Jeff's like real life partner playing Ramara, and also Chris, were both looking at Jeff like, really? That's how you're gonna play it? And he's like, yep. Because they were all, I think like the discussion had been, at least this is my take, I don't know, the three of them know, but like the take was like, Massimo is this like totally pure of heart great hero that like legitimately like that's like what it was all about. And for him to play like great hero, but he's also this kind of like goofy, arrogant guy was like, are you sure? And I know
So
Emily specifically
conceited.
was like, well, that means I have to be in love. That means my character has to be the kind of person who fell in love with that kind of character. Thanks a lot. But that reflects some of their real dynamic too. It works.
It's always nice when, art imitates life.
We recently did it's not part of the podcast. We did it like live for an event. Recently, we did Ramara and Massimo in like couples therapy, but it was also kind of a dungeon. It was like a dungeon master therapist, and they had to like process some of their issues, and it turned into fighting a giant robotic Massimo baby that represented their like potential
I feel like
future
there's
child.
a Rick and Morty episode that is shockingly close to what you're describing, but yeah, that's
I haven't seen that one, so it just must be some sort of universal truth that we're all,
It's amazing.
all reflecting.
That's funny. Yeah, I mean, like their whole dynamic. First of all, Emily was brilliant coming in, and I know she didn't have super huge background knowledge of D&D, but she really kind of just dove into that character and was such a good foil for all of the shenaniganery that was kind of swirling around this really probably too competent individual, which again, very on brand for Emily.
Yeah, she was great.
Her character was the most OP character we've had. I feel like just destroyed people.
Yeah, no, her only weakness was the fact that she was saddled with like all of us.
Yep.
I gotta follow around these idiots.
Yeah.
I'm gonna psychic nuke you or all the names of her powers were.
It was like
awesome.
mind melt or whatever it was. Like
Mind lash, I think, is one of
Oh
them.
yeah.
Psychic, yeah. Something thrust. There's definitely a thrust that's in one of the
a
things.
mental
It's, like,
thrust.
intense,
Mind
yeah.
thrust.
Whew, hot. All right. Well, any last thoughts before we wrap up?
Can I throw an honorable mention in for one of my favorite moments?
Yes, please.
When Celius got to fly coach.
Yes. That is also one of my favorite things. The Celius coach dynamic and the like constant misunderstanding, inadvertent homoerotic statements from coach, like, get on top of me.
It was amazing. And then Chris as Jabin playing into that. I love that.
So good between the three of them. Like weirdly, consistently wholesome, but also
I think it's only because of the shorts. It was only because of Coach and the shorts.
Weston's consistent just like angle on that was just so fun all the time.
Jabin!
And then we run.
Celius rode me all the way over here.
Shut up, coach! And then we run, and I'm gonna book it towards that door.
Alrighty, so this is Zach again, and I'm here with Carlos. Carlos joined the podcast midway. Season 3 is Tiburon, expecting to be on a couple of episodes, and we didn't let him leave, and then has played... Who are your characters? Give us the rundown of your experience in the podcast, first of all, and then we'll talk about it.
I have played Tiburon, the fighter sailor. Then I also played Deleth, the lovable rogue, and I played and continue to play as Yenny, the halfling raised by orcs barbarian.
So, any favorite moments that come to mind for between all those characters?
Oh, I feel like probably favorite moment for me that I got to do is I don't have tons of D&D experience in like campaigns that run longer than say like a session or two. So there's usually no time to really like build up payoffs in a lot of the stuff that I participated in that were fun for what they were, but you just don't have enough time to kind of like pay things off. And I felt like a really great payoff was when Tiburon got to ride a shark, with his trident hoisted in the air, and then help like rescue people. Some of the people of Giaca when the sort of big tsunami hit the town. I thought it obviously, like, the session was like building in that direction, but just to be able to do something that, like, I could literally envision in like a TV show or a comic book page or something as like a big sort of image was really fulfilling. In looking down and regarding the water, do I happen to see any sort of sea creatures down there?
Yes. Yeah. Roll perception.
All right. 18.
What you happen to see looking down below you as you're now up in about 8 feet of water that's rapidly filling in. So you're in the center of the bowl of this town. It's rapidly filling in. You're now about 8 feet up, and you happen to look down and see a very confused but very large great white shark.
Awesome. All right. I grab my trident from my back. Do I have to point it in the direction of the creature I wish
assume
to
so, yes.
dominate? Awesome. Great. So I pointed straight down, and I cast Dominate Beast.
Oh, I just generated a great white shark. It probably has stats somewhere. Let me just do a wisdom roll.
You did this to yourself.
I'm sure giant shark is in the monster manual. But I have rolled, and you have control of this very, very confused shark, but now obedient and not hostile.
Awesome. Okay, in communicating with this shark, because I can mind communicate with him, right?
Yes.
Okay, great. I'm gonna ask the shark, can I take a ride, fella?
The shark's just like, what? What? I guess so. Here's stats for a reef shark, +0 to wisdom. That holds up. All right, so it's like, I get, sure, yeah, you seem confident. It seems soothed by your confidence that this is okay, and it kind of like comes up for you to write it.
Okay, awesome. Well, let's do it in the most dramatic fashion possible, and let's have it come up beneath me. Right as he's about to leap out of the water, I jump up in the air, land on it while holding my trident up and going, "Follow me, you briny bastards," to everyone else who's around me.
I love this so bad.
And fun fact, I believe the first take we did of that one while recording was not PG-13 rated because I was so excited. So there's an R-rated version of how excited I was to be writing a shark out there.
If that's true, I probably have it recorded on one big reel of things I've cut out. So at some point we have planned to get that out to our adult fans, because it's just like a 20-minute compilation of things that couldn't be in a PG-13 podcast. So. Yes, that was a good moment. And as soon as you were like fishing around, literally and figuratively, for like, do I see any like sharks out there? I was like, oh yeah, absolutely you do. For sure, that was fun. Everything I wanted out of that like little sequence where I just kind of said like, all of you go do whatever you can to save the town. It's up to you. And that was a great application of that concept. So how about another moment that you were a little bit more just like you enjoyed being an audience member for?
So I believe this was in the probably like second session I participated in, and it kicked off with Maya getting killed and the ship kind of like breaking out into chaos, and a lot of stuff sort of going on. And one thing that sort of happened in the sort of chaos and kind of like post action was Soot kind of trying to jump ship or sort of like in essence abandon the team, right? And then I remember it's Chris's character Gravely, I believe.
Yeah.
And Soot sort of have this moment below deck, and they have like a conversation, and it was kind of the moment that I realized like I knew the podcast had sort of been like long running, but I was sort of new on board, and I had a good idea from my first session sort of what to expect from like the sort of moment to moment kind of like immediate things, but I didn't know like what sort of narratives were gonna be unfolding in the campaign, and that one was such a good example of like something that emerged organically, but that grew the characters in a very interesting direction, and that allowed the players to sort of explore things that aren't just killing an orc or saving a town, or something where like the morality or the outcomes can be like very straightforward seeming, or what someone does or says, even though it's up to them to say the actual words, like it can feel a little bit like you know when you have like a moment for a one-liner, you know when you have like a moment to sort of like, oh well, we're all afraid because we're in a spooky cave, but that one seemed like a very naturally emerging narrative moment of sort of a character having to confront another character within the same party and go like, there's obviously friction that exists here, and you literally gotta like ship up or ship out, you know, and it just being presented in kind of like not necessarily stark terms, but like very natural and very sort of from the character seeming conversation was I thought. I was very impressed with the great work that Chris and Weston sort of imbued the scene with, and then I was also impressed that you, Zach, sort of as a DM, gave the space to allow for a scene like that to unfold.
I was going to say my role in that is getting out of the way,
right?
Like when Soot like jumped ship and everything, and which is not something at all I was prepared of, like just allowing that to happen and just taking it one step at a time, and man. Chris and Weston, absolutely, just like you're saying, just stepped up and made that an incredible moment.
Oh, hey, if you come down here to watch them torture me? Because that's the really only expectation that I have sitting here.
They're not going to torture you.
The two guards down there look very, like, annoyed. Like, they roll their eyes because he's clearly claimed that several times already.
Why don't you guys take a break? I'll watch him.
Yeah, you guys go take a break.
They both head off a little bit, probably not quite out of earshot, but like to the doorway to give you a little bit of space.
Gravely, you got to get me out of here right now.
I will. Listen, I feel bad that you're in here, but you've got to promise to cool it a little bit with the dead things and the trying to steal things. It's just not the way things are done on this type of vessel. I mean, I'm not even a pirate, and I know that's not cool.
Listen, the only way to stay alive is to watch out for yourself, okay?
Yes, but we made an agreement that we would look for treasure, and we've kind of agreed for safe passage, and you don't try to grab things in the middle of the ocean right after a demolishing sea voyage.
Why not?
To build trust, Soot. Trust me, all right? I know we haven't known each other very long, but just maybe if we see this through a little bit longer, you'll be able to come out of it alive with your more helpers and maybe a little bit of money.
That's not my aim. I don't have much time left.
What are you talking about?
Listen. I read how long kobolds live, okay? I know the studies that have been done, okay? I'm running out of time. I can't buy time, Gravely. I can't buy time, and the only thing that's going to get me closer to my goal is stay alive.
I understand that it's a very dangerous place out here. But we need to stick together.
Yeah, and I think that's a very important lesson that sort of a lot of DMs can take to heart. You know, especially when you have like a very cool idea of what you want to happen. But sometimes your cool ideas don't involve or predict the quieter moments, right? And so sometimes it's about allowing space without letting your players feel aimless, but like have places where you as a DM can essentially recede into the background until you're needed again, and let things like actually play out with dynamics that already kind of exist between characters, or with scenes that are kind of like already unfolding, and really you don't need to add much more than, if they ask you, what does an NPC say, or, does someone bring us our food at a pub or something, but just to know that it can be very tempting, like as a DM to kind of like, because you've made up so many cool things, like either like over explain or over involve yourself in certain moments. And I think it takes a particular tact and a good kind of ear and eye to spot the moments when like, gotta let this play out, gotta see where this goes, before you kind of like interject or bring the world kind of to the forefront again.
Yeah, and you don't know when they're gonna happen. Because I think sometimes DMs will be like, okay, so now you're there at camp and you have some time to talk. Go ahead and talk. And like a lot of times those moments are like, that's when the DM is like, this is where I'll let the players improvise a little bit, but the like pressure of it, and also like absence of, it's literally sometimes the same amount of just like how you would talk at dinner, like kind of making small talk and whatever. But so that's not when those big conversations necessarily will happen. So whenever they do happen, just like back up, let them go for sure. Awesome. Well, thank you very much. You've been an incredible addition to the podcast, brought so many great moments, great characters. Loving Yenny this season. And thanks for hanging out.
Cool.
Hello, everybody. So this is Zach again, and I am here with our old friend, superstar TTRPG, raising to grand heights, Weston Gardner. Started small on our little podcast. Weston, what you been up to lately?
Oh my gosh. So very much. I've been over on TikTok, been making I think I've done over 70 different D&D parody songs over there, doing lots of D&D sketches and making tons of music, collaborating with other amazing people in the TTRPG community. I just got back from Gen Con. I played in a game there with a bunch of amazing creators. It was a ton of fun just being able to see everybody. I think I met 30 or 40 people who I've been chatting with all through the pandemic. Other creators in the space that I've met from Instagram or that I've met from TikTok.
I was just thinking this would be the spot where I tell everybody, hey, if you're on TikTok and you're into role-playing games, definitely follow Arcane Anthems. But you're probably well past the level where anybody who's on TikTok into role-playing games has probably come across Arcane Anthems, because you do some great stuff and I'm sure TikTok throws it at a lot of people.
There's so many really, really good TTRPG people, creators who just make the most fun stuff that's very easy to get kind of lost in the in the scroll, I guess, get lost on the For You page. But I consider everybody who likes my stuff, it's a privilege to be able to do this as a living now, and make free RPG music and do parodies and play in games and play I get to play with the same way how I felt in Knights of the Roll Table, where I got to play with these amazing people all the time. That it just keeps going, I don't have to play in bad games ever again, because I have so many awesome creators to play with now, and so many just friends in this space, that even if everybody's busy, some people aren't. And I've been running some shows over on Twitch. I've done about 12 different episodes of one shots where I've taken 4 different creators per episode and run them through a one shot in 3 hours, and just had an absolute blast. I'm starting up a new show actually called One Shot 101, where I teach non-D&D creators how to play Dungeons and Dragons
on Twitch.
And on Twitch. It'll be
awesome.
On Twitch, on twitch.tv/Arcane Anthems. And I have some really incredible guests who have been very fortunate that they've agreed to be on the show. So I'm excited to reveal that in time.
Awesome. Well, we will keep tuned in. Sounds great. So back in the day, before when all of that was just seeds in the mind of Weston, You were Coach in season 1 and 2. You were kind of our first like main carryover character, and then Soot in season 3. So, what were some of your favorite moments from your time on the podcast?
Oh my gosh. So I think my favorite moments were when I, as a player, I just couldn't speak because I was just laughing too hard. I physically could not role play because I was just laughing at the antics that were going on. I think back to the Fey Court scene where everybody was, at the Fey Court lunch with Jeff acting absolutely redonkulous. I think
Maya's bio of Fey Court, yes, with
it was Maya's bio.
Cucumber sandwiches moments.
Oh yes. Oh my gosh. All of that with the squirrels, and I lost it. I just lost my mind. In the plants, I think in season 3. Where all of us became the talk with plants.
Talking plants. Oh, that was a great moment.
Colin, just so much fun stuff. I also think about when Jeff was just riddling off magic item after magic item after magic item, and it didn't stop. I think he might have gotten through like 30. I mean, it was, and he's like, no, I got more. I'm like, oh my, and each one was like more ridiculous than the one before. I just those moments like where I'm in tears. I'm just dying. Like I can't contain myself at just the hilarity of what is happening.
I really love those moments, and I think they're something that's pretty unique that we do compared to like a lot of other shows. Just those moments of where everybody kind of like jumps into, we're all going to co-DM this scene. Clearly everybody needs to jump in and be a different talking plant right now, or clearly everybody needs to jump in and play Fey Court characters. Those are definitely my favorite moments, and they're not like agreed upon. There's no like behind the scenes gesture of like, hey, you do this, you do this. It's not a plan. It's just everybody feels the moment and jumps in. Those are definitely some of my favorites too, and I hadn't thought about those in a while. Hello, plants. Hi. Hey guys, sorry. Just for a second. I'm sorry we hit you with our ship. Apologize for that. Hopefully you'll grow back. But have any? It's really important that if there's any sort of big purple constructs, have they seen them? Have they gone by here recently?
Hold on, guys. Let me take this.
Okay, you, right there.
First of all, you hit Dave, and I'm very upset about that.
I'm super sorry about that. I really apologize.
I didn't like him.
We'll get you.
Dave, let me take this one, guys.
We'll get you fertilizer. It's good.
You're looking for a giant metal construct, you said?
Yes, purple crystals.
Yeah, there was one that just flew by a couple of minutes ago, and it flew into that second-story window over there.
Over there? Can you point at that? You probably can't point.
I can't really point, but it's. I'm looking.
That one right where I'm pointing right now.
Nope. Go to the left.
This one.
Go to the left, and right about. Go up a little bit.
That's the one.
That's the one.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much. I promise we'll take care of Dave. We'll be back soon. All right. It's up there. That one.
Get more bees.
Can we just do an all plant camp?
We take group world building very seriously. Like, and I like you said, like I do love that we just look at each other and we're like, oh, this is happening. Like we are creating this entire scene together now. We are no longer our individual characters. We are now something else entirely. And I've taken that into my own personal games where I'll have my players or my guests on the show tell me about this person that they're now meeting, like that they've known in their past. Like, tell me about this person, and really challenging them to use those improv skills. And I think that's the thing about Knights is, man, like obviously all being professional improv actors, that skill is just through the roof amazing. And that's something that I've taken from Knights, and I've kind of like taught out. Like I've taught out to my players and really encouraged them to good effect or to not so good effect sometimes if they aren't quite prepared. But I really love that group ideal of building this world together, and I always try and leave space for that.
Awesome. So those are some other people's scenes. Is there a particular moment that you're very proud of that you did as one of your characters?
I think the moment that the first moment that stuck out in my head was your face when I announced that Soot was had a chest full of like dead bodies. Because I hadn't cleared it with you beforehand.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
like
I do
this
remember that.
realization, like, wait, what's what's happening right now?
Soot is going to go back to his room. He's going to open up a big chest that he has with him, and he's going to stare down in it. And he's going to see two kind of smaller bodies in the chest.
Bodies?
Bodies. And he is going to take a small knife and cut his hand a little bit. He's going to take what looks like some kind of leather with some pores and tiny hairs on it. And he's going to take out a small vial from his pouch. And he's going to combine them together, speak something in Draconic, and the two bodies will start to move.
I had to trust that you had faith in me as a player, that I wouldn't go like overboard, or I wouldn't do something that was completely, you know, out of like I'll do something out of left field, but that it will work. And Soot was one of those things, and I think for me, Soot was a return to form, where Coach for me was very uncomfortable. I had never really played a character like Coach before, where he wasn't like
big, bold, confident kind of.
Yeah, like just very boisterous, and you know, like just this personality, like all the confidence in the world. And I had never really played anybody like that who was also like who had so much undeserved confidence, I guess. Normally, I really love playing hyper intelligent creatures. That's like that's something I've discovered about myself, is I love to play the conniving, super intelligent style creatures, and monstrous creatures too, which is why Soot and XX Minotaur and like those things like made me really happy to play, because I love playing monstrous races.
XX Minotaur, monstrous. Not so much super intelligent.
No, not well. But I feel like at least with him, he had earned confidence. Like XX Minotaur was strong and terrifying, and like all those things pushed the rod of, was it the
immovable
rod with the natural
turns out
20.
to be movable.
Yeah,
with a 30 roll.
That was nuts. That was another one of my favorite moments.
That's probably one of my favorite moments that is like not really a part of the podcast, just implied. I love that, like, because that happened at the first use of the rod, the whole group was like, well, this is a piece of garbage. It doesn't work. It wasn't a matter of like, he did something impossible. It was like, this doesn't work. Just you take it. I think XX Bloody Heart has that and like never used it.
I've just destroyed all confidence in this like incredible item.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so funny. But
to go back to your like, here's my chest of dead bodies moment from the DM perspective, that was, I mean, I think from the DM perspective, I think that's a moment of like, just roll with when something's super out of left field, where like your immediate response is not what I was expecting. What am I going to do with this? This is clearly going to have a big effect on things. Like, just take one step at a time, roll with it, move forward. Because certainly like between our sessions is when I take moments like that and turn them into everything. Those are really inspiring moments when somebody throws you something you weren't looking for. And, you know, for sure, that's a moment that impacted so much as Maya dressed them up in scarves and so much that happened with them. Yeah. So like sometimes when your instinct is like, oh, I gotta contain this or like put it away somewhere because it's going to mess things up. Don't, just let it roll and let great things come out of it. And you had a lot of moments like that that were really, really great.
Soot inspired me, and I've played characters, PCs like him since then, just because I found out that that's what I'm really good at, is really drawing that line, because not all people can play evil characters or lawful evil characters in a way that works in a group. And I wanted to figure that out, and I'm very appreciative to Knights for helping me to figure out how to play that style of character in a way that is still endearing. Like I at no point did I think that like Soot was at all unredeemable, and I loved that the campaign that you orchestrated, I guess the best way to say it, gave Soot a way to become better. And I also love that Soot never became a knight. Is he the only one in all the player characters that never did not become a knight?
We didn't at the end of that season clarify. So some people, when they like came, in the next season or turned up, we kind of find out who's a knight and who's not. But I mean, pretty much, I'd have to think of who was around. But I mean, Soot went off and became a Commodore instead. There was no ceremony at the end of that season. It said there was a cliffhanger, so we didn't know. Maybe Soot did, but probably not.
I
don't think Soot had so much a redemption arc that anybody was like, yes, definitely him. We
what
can trust
what
him.
a good little lizard man. Like, yeah, a little dragon boy. Like, no, like that's and I loved that. Like, I thought that was so telling of Soot and being able to play a character like that, and feeling that like trust from the rest of the group, and like you were saying, like having Maya do the things that Maya does. Like, Soot very much like, how do you not love Maya? Like, and that was one of the things that kind of loosened Soot's terrifying background, and like all the trauma and everything that he had gone to that led to those decisions. It was those things that helped to solve it.
Yeah, he set out to like use that as a tool and manipulator, and it kind of like made its way into his heart, kind of.
It really, really did. He's like, oh yeah, I can use you, and then it really got turned around. And the cool thing about this is when you're playing a character like that, I'm always looking for those opportunities. Like, how can I subvert expectations in a way that feels organic? So when Soot gets caught on the ship and is thrown in the brig and is thinking that he's going to die, and the captain is showing mercy, and Soot doesn't even know what to do with that. Like, I loved your captain, because
Honeymist.
Captain Honeymist. Her goodness, even like goodness for a very specific reason. It wasn't out of character for her to be that way. Those moments really, I think, grounded Knights. Like, obviously, like everybody in that group is so good at being hilarious. Like, everybody in there can make you laugh. But I think it was those types of moments that grounded the campaign and gave it some gravitas and some like real heart. I know we're talking about Soot a lot. I probably should be talking more about Coach because he was in the campaign longer.
No, I think that's great. And I think those are, that's my favorite part of this format and the podcast is that. And I think D&D and the style that I prefer in general, I think my favorite part is that it can be zany and it can be fantastical, but also like the more a group of people are here occupying characters that matter to them, the more you find yourselves in those moments that are like real and powerful and tearful and triumphant. The balance of the comedy with moments like that is, that's what I love about storytelling in general. And this kind of format, finding those moments organically is just, that's where the real magic is.
The true magic of D&D.
Yes, it's not True Strike because that spell sucks.
No,
but the magic
the
is in collaboration and friendship.
Well, that's what happens when you add magic to a world. Like, your scope for zaniness, for wild, things to happen expands, indefinitely, and it doesn't make the people, quote unquote, the people in that world less real. It doesn't make their their feelings and their experiences less real, but it does allow for a huge contrast in this, like, these serious moments, and like how far can we push the wackiness level? How far can that go out?
Yeah. Well, Weston, thank you so much for chatting. It's great to catch up with you. Hopefully we'll sneak you back into the greater storyline soon. What some of your characters might be up to these days in the next, I don't know how long, the next 100 episodes basically comes down. So we hope we can find you.
There we go.
Nice.
Yeah. So I can't wait to be back on. That'll be a lot of fun.
All right. Thank you very much. We all look forward to it. A lot of my favorite moments on the podcast have been bringing in special guests, and a few of them wanted to say hello and congratulations. So here's Alex, Dorian, Chrissy, Arik, and Tad.
Congratulations, Knights of the Rolled Table, on your 100th episode. It was so fun being a part of the cast as a guest, and I wish you guys all the best, only more great adventures in the future to come.
Hey everybody at Knights of the Rolled Table, this is Dorian Lenz, one half of the dynamic duo Archibald and Barchwald. We just wanted to say congratulations on 100 episodes. What an achievement. You guys have been working real hard on this show, and you can tell it's an amazing, amazing podcast. And I'm just happy to be part of it in such a very small way. But to all of you, Zach, Jen, Jeff, Chris, Emily, everybody that has worked on the podcast in the past, congrats on 100 episodes. You deserve all the praise.
Hello, Rolled Table. This is Chrissy Lenz, the Barchi half of the Archie and Barchi duo. It has always been such a pleasure and a gift, not only to listen to Rolled Table, but also to be a part of it. We love you. Keep up the good work. And we can't wait to roll with y'all again.
Would you mind moving your goat, sir? Thank you. Thank you. Have a good day. Have a good day. Oh, yes. This is Arik. I was just going about the marketplace and... Sir, could the pig, please? Anyway, I just wanted to congratulate you all on your 100 episodes. That's quite amazing. Sir, pig, pig. Thank you. This is also Tad Stones, and I enjoy every episode. You guys have put together something spectacular with a great little community surrounding it. So, thank you for inviting me to the party, and I guess I'll get back to the marketplace. Nice dog!
Wow, again, all of our guests have been so fun to work with. It's so fun to change up the cast and get some new energy in the room and play with you all. Thank you so much once again to Jessica Towson, Burtness, Mark Crespo, Emily Frank, Jordan Peele, Alex Deda, Chrissy Lenz, Dorian Lenz, Meryl Streep, Chanel Mize, Lenny Rivera, Tad Stones, Lin-Manuel Miranda, Matt Acevedo, David Armstrong, Calvin Daly, Rory Frank, Violet Stones, President Barack Obama, Chris Reed, and Gordy Fitzgerald. You have all been awesome. We really, really appreciate you. Full disclosure, not every one of those people has actually been a guest on the podcast. Some of them I just wanted to thank. We have your 3 seasonal DMs here. It's just the 3 of us, kind of by chance tonight because Jen is out sick and Matt is taking care of his daughter. And so we thought for this extravaganza, we'd take a little moment and talk a little bit about the DM experience so far and how it's developed each season. So we got Jeff and Zach and Chris are here.
Hello.
So, what are your thoughts, guys, on DMing so far and how it's been? I mean, I think specifically the handing off experience between each season is probably interesting to chat about, kind of what you took from previous seasons and how you stepped it up.
Well, I think the first thing to mention is, we talked about this a little bit in season 1 recap, or maybe it was the season 2 recap, because that was the first time that we did hand off from you to me, and how we were like, we'll see if this works. Because I know at the end of the first season, I know myself, I was kind of like, I don't know, and Weston was like, I don't know about this, and there was a couple of us that we were like, well, we'll see if this works, but we're all into improv and we're all into yes and we are I think that allowed us to be okay with trying it out. And we were just like, hey, if it fails, at least we tried. Now we know.
Specifically around the context on the idea of switching DMs.
Switching DMs and continuing the story, but having a different voice and whatnot. So, but I think there's 90% of what we're doing works, like of that format of just hey, now you take the baton and you run with the world. And I think it's been really fun. You definitely have to trust in each other. I had to trust that Jeff wasn't going to just and now everyone's a pig, like which
that was on the whiteboard. That was on the whiteboard. So
everyone
you got
turns into a
lucky. Yeah.
swine. Or it's a tonal shift, like completely. Like I knew mine was going to have some weird, wacky stuff in it, and if Zach's was too serious or too whatever, like just like tonally switching, the audience would have been like, this is a completely different show. And I think we've all kind of had a similar voice, but a slightly different DM style.
Yeah.
Which works really well.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's worked out really well for kind of like re-energizing things. And, for sure, like there's some clunkiness in the big plot. I'm sure like if you wanted to go through and find plot holes, there would be a lot of, well, in season 3, they were doing this, but in season 2, it was this. But like, for sure, I think it's worth it for like a unique format.
Oh no, we know what's going to happen at the end. We know this is not like Lost. We know what's going to happen right from the first season, right, Jeff?
Yep, it's
uh-huh.
all on a hidden whiteboard in Jeff's garage, it's guarded by the cricket.
Yeah, the cricket and it's behind this curtain.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think it's also been good. Like, I think it's a cool format. I would like preach to just groups to use because, like, I'm in so many D groups. I think are just stuck with like one DM is the holder of everything, and either they're a little bit power hungry and they do what they want, and just nobody challenges them because they don't want to have to DM themselves, or they're like super burned out and they're like, oh my god, I have to do another session.
Yeah,
and so it's such a great thing to like. Share the joys and the burdens of DMing because it is a lot, but
or just have two, people do it, or 3, like half the group.
Team.
Maybe not everybody has to. Part of the fun of DMing is having those big surprise moments, like like I love doing reveals and kind of big surprises and stuff. And as long as you have a few people that have that, I think that's good. If everybody does it, it might be a little tricky because then it's like, well, who are you surprising really? Because everybody's
certainly a one continuity if every single person is a DM. That's
but even just switching off with one other person, I think is a fun
So
format.
you DMs out there, if you're burned out, like choose a Padawan, grab somebody in your group and be like, okay, you're doing a one shot, and in 1 month you're doing a one shot, you'll be great. And they probably will be.
Or do a tangent story, like take that character or that NPC and like build some characters around them and have them run a 6-episode side quest and just you can be a player, and then stuff that happens from that can have ramifications in your main storyline when you come back. And guess what? You get to figure out what that is because it's your main story.
Yeah, that's been a really fun, invigorating thing too. Like stepping back into season 3, like taking things that you had added and grabbing onto that and turning that into stuff, like taking each other's ideas and building off them has been like really inspiring. I think when you start getting into a place of like, okay, now I got to tell a story again, and what am I going to do? That there's a bunch of new toys to pick up that other people have laid down, and that's something I love about.
Let's play this game. So I'll say what I liked picking up from season 1. And then you say what you liked picking up from season 2 in season 3, and then so on and so forth. So in season 2, I liked obviously having 2 characters carry over, was kind of a neat way to continue the continuity of the overall world, and having the idea that there were different knights. Because we only met like I think 3 other established knights in season 1, so I got to kind of play with like, okay, there are a couple of knights in this other realm, and
you don't know who they are,
but we've known what that is. We've seen the ceremony, and so that's kind of the the simple little next step of like, yeah, they're out there and they're recruiting, but now these other characters who are knights might be the recruitees or recruiters for other people, because we had, I think, 2 characters two characters one character that was a knight. The only coach was the only one that was actually a knight, and the others were not. Um, so like that, there was that moment where Coach and the other monk, the dwarf
Mhm.
that he had, like when everybody was on their dates in season 2, and he's like, "Oh, you're one of these. You're you're a knight," and he's like, "Oh, that's cool." So that was kind of a fun moment. I was like, "Oh, this is going to happen a lot more, where like knights meet other knights and they don't know."
Mm-hmm.
They realize that we've had a few of those moments where it's like, "Oh, hey," it's just kind of fun. So Zach, what did you? Now it's your turn. From season 3,
from season 2 into season 3. Yeah, man, when I try to figure out like what was actually in my head when it happened, it's all a blur. Things don't like solidify until they're recorded and I get to listen back to them. But for sure, like the introduction of the Platinum Syndicate was a Chris original. The name and everything, the notion that there's like an evil team was the big, I think of that as like, that's the big contribution of season 2 to the overall plot. Each season has kind of like a big piece that complicates everything and is going to like go forward. And that was definitely the addition from the first season, being kind of like the knights exist, and also just kind of like the introduction of concepts like there's portals in the Feywild and things, and those are important. But season 1 is basically secret organization knights right at the end. Season 2 was evil secret organization Platinum Syndicate. What's up with this? And then I think beyond that was just kind of like taking the awesome stuff you did and trying to like step it up, trying to like, you did a really good arc of uncovering mysteries, planting seeds along the way. Like I'm super impressed by listening back to the first couple of episodes and how much you were setting up and planning out that was going to be important later, because those episodes are really fun to listen back to, having heard the season, and be like, oh, here's where he like dropped this, here's where he dropped that, and was sort of like seeding things. And so that was kind of like raising the bar for me as a DM. And so I mean, I think it was like the story was a big like bad person trying to take over, big scheme. And so I would definitely like sat into like where do we go from here? How do we kind of like step that up? And that kind of led me to the idea of this kind of like, what is the Platinum Syndicate plan? What does that mean? Into this idea of like, okay, so they have this big plan of everything. I also, at that point in the kind of like arc of the big story, was thinking like, it's about time for things to go bad in the story. It's like Empire Strikes Back kind of moment. Things are bad. So I wanted to get it to like have a fun season that could have a positive ending, but also end in a like, oh no, where we go from here kind of moments. And then that led me to like, there's this like global takeover. And I was going to say, you referenced this earlier, but thinking about my favorite moments or favorite things that I did throughout our whole run, one of them might be the like idea to bring in Jeff as Giacca. That contributed. He did such a great job with that. And it's so changed the pace and like stepped up the like vibe of season 3, and was also just a concept that we've played with a lot. And so
the co-DM.
That was super fun.
And this, the way it worked out, was so helpful. It was a nice break within the seasons, within episodes, for me to be able to like occupy some NPCs while he just went with it, and to create so much like texture and fun. It worked really well. And he just did a good job like jumping in when he needed to, and then going back to.
And we're talking about like Padawaning a DM to kind of step up. I think that's a great way to get somebody in there, because you get to do the fun part of like building a small world, but you don't have to like think about how this ties to a bigger plot structure. And like, is it going to be in this 3-act situation? Will everybody feel vindicated by the way that the story goes? Like, no, I'm just imagining taverns, situations, small encounters, things to discover, and then like adding that to it. So if I could throw something in there, be a town, be a place, be a just DM, because you're doing the DM work, but in such a small confined way that is almost just the best parts.
Yeah, the genesis of that, I've mentioned this before, but the genesis of that was just Jen and Chris asking in our session 0, like, we'd like to do some shopping. And I'm like, I have to make a town and have like shopkeepers and like stuff. Like, hey, wait, Jeff wasn't going to be in this beginning of part of the season. And I felt kind of bad about that. Hey, Jeff, want to do this part for me? And man, that worked out well.
It's good times.
How about
So
you, Jeff? What did you kind of take on leading into season 4 that inspired you?
Well, I felt like I had an idea, or I had like a sense of like this building up of the Knights and like all this as we were doing season 3 and as that was kind of coming to an end. And so it felt like it was like, oh, okay, like, man, I'm really gonna have to like sit down and like I could be over here. I could like kind of but almost in like a bad way, like, gosh, it could almost be anything. But at the very end, when you played that, or when you had that like message that was sent to all the Knights, from Sora, that was like the ministry has fallen. That to me was like, holy moly, okay, now I have a thing to do, which is to make everybody suspicious of the whole thing. And like, how could this big organization that we've said is this like impervious bastion of only good people, how can we like start to poke holes in that, and what direction, how could I make something that like challenges that idea? And so that was just like a great gift at the very end that was like, oh well, now I know exactly where I'm going to go with it. And so, that just led me off in the direction that we went with, wanting to like not make it to like challenge everybody as players because the narrative had challenged the idea of the reality. So like to add another layer of challenging the players and like adding, 2 casts and not knowing who was going to be good and who was bad. And like, what does that actually mean now? Was super easy to do once I had that kind of little last idea from you. So thanks.
You're welcome. Of note, also, Jeff's a big James Bond fan, and I could very much feel him playing like, let's do secret spy missions towards that scene, which was fun.
That was fun.
Love it. I do at some point want to go in a whole different direction with this podcast and do a completely modern setting. That was something that I was thinking about doing before that big twist at the end of season 3 was like, I bet I could, if they're going to give me the keys to this thing, I could take it off road.
Modern cities, guns.
Exactly. Just completely in the present day.
I would have violently revolted against that.
I'd say bring it on. This is the end of the podcast. So stay tuned for season 7 when I do that.
Completely jump forward.
Yes, jump the the proverbial shark with legs.
The laser sharks.
Well, season 5, without giving away too much, I think that one of the big things I took from season 4 from Jeff is that one is that when XX Bloody Heart was revealed to be gone, I liked the idea of like, oh, a knight is missing, and what happened to him, and what if it was multiple people from the Great Calamity were not accounted for. And so that kind of, in my mind, I was like, that's a cool seed, because we need a purpose that all these like 2 groups of knights that haven't met each other can rally behind, which is we need to regroup, and we need to find people that are, higher up in level, like that are veteran knights. And we need to find them. We need to like go after them, even if we don't know them. It just sort of shows like a brotherhood, like, like we need to support the team that we've invested in. So I think that was the biggest thing. But also like previously having stuff like Sora's message, and just that idea of like, there is this sort of way to communicate, and there's ways to get around and things like that. So having the thing that I just gave to y'all with the communication through the tattoo, and like actually having the tattoo instead of just like an identifier, like, oh, now it's got some arcane abilities, and sort of taking that inspiration from, it's not just a brand or a mark. It's there is some like
stuff going on.
You're given some special abilities now, and like and it might evolve as the characters evolve.
I gotta say, one of my favorite moments of season 5 so far was a little message from Bartleby and Biscuit hanging out together in their little tech booth, wherever they are.
Yeah.
That was a very great moment.
Falcon
you
Reach.
playing both characters. Yeah.
Yeah. This is a floating city. Oh my gosh. Oh, hey, do you want to come in and say hi?
Is he talking to us?
Oh, yeah, I'll say hi. Hi. Is this for all the nuts?
Biscuit.
Hey, howdy. Hey, y'all. My name's Biscuit. Y'all know that this is a floating city? It's the darndest thing. It's floating in the sky.
Biscuit, how you doing? You okay, man?
They can't hear you.
No.
This is a magical message. So you say that and nothing happens.
Biscuit, are you in the rock?
Well, any other last thoughts? Can we conceptually talk about like DMing in the future? Hello, Knights of the Rolled Table. This is Zach coming to you from the editing booth, putting this episode together. And here's a little announcement I found it necessary to include. This is kind of weird, but the rest of this episode might include spoilers, because we're going to talk about things that we envision maybe happening in the next 100 or so episodes as we continue this arc. And those episodes aren't made yet and are going to be largely improvised and created by different people. So I don't actually know if some of the things we're about to talk about will become important parts of the story. So just fully out there in the world of improv, I thought it would be a good time to announce that if you want to be completely spoiler free and not be given any ideas about what might happen or potentially avoid disappointment for things that we talk about and you really want to happen that don't end up happening, you might want to skip the rest of this episode. But if you want to go on this journey with us and talk about visions of the future and what we might envision happening, then please continue to join us on this 100 or so episode spectacular. We can not publish it if we can't, but like thoughts on where you want this to go from the DM perspective?
You know,
I'm trying to think what I can say.
Yeah.
I think what I hope anybody that is like ride or die for this podcast and like is honestly like listening in and tracking everything, and it's not just our friends and neighbors being polite to download it.
There's like at least 3 people I know.
Great. So to them, what I hope is the thing that's enjoyable about it is that it just can, kind of like real life, like things can just kind of sprawl in directions, and you can fall into like following new storylines and following new threads and like seeing how things go. But like to echo what Zach said about hearing the message from Biscuit, who we had met in the last season, and Bartleby, like together is like, oh yeah, they would do that. That would be what they're exactly like complementary to each other. And like, that's cool to see. And like that, what a neat thing because I know both of those characters and got to like live through with them for some amount of time. Like that's a great thing. And so more important than like a big crescendo or like a big, giant epic Avengers fight moment that like solves all the problems. I think what is neat is to see the way in which this world can be discovered, and we can kind of make interesting connections in it and just keep that going until it feels right to kind of be done with that. And hopefully that's never.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm a very like completionist when it comes to like story. So like I've done 2 web comics where I'm like, I have to finish this. There has to be some sort of conclusion, but I also realize that not everybody's storylines is going to necessarily like wrap up in a nice little bow. And there might be, since we have so many characters, it's not like a traditional D&D podcast where it's like 5 characters, meet in a bar, and then 11 levels later they fight a dragon god or whatever. And so, I mean, we're not going to have that. Like, I think at some point there's going to be a final season where there's a final team of a final party, and whoever that is, and I don't even know who's going to DM. It'll be interesting to see like kind of how it all comes together. Of like, who are we going to pick? It's almost like the last round of Street Fighter, where it's like, okay, who are you gonna fight? Like, who are we gonna pick for this final round? And
yeah, I feel like story wise, like we're kind of at the point, like my vision of like the rest of things and definitely going to a conclusion is like all of our seasons so far have been expansions and new characters and new ideas. And I feel like we're about at the point to start taking all that we've generated and working on like weaving it together and together and together. Like there's been a lot of moments recently where there's been like a fun little, and I feel like season 5 may be completely filled with these. There's been a callback to a character, but it's only a fun callback to us as players because none of the actual characters in there, like when Drake Bloodmoon was revealed and we knew who that was, but none of the players knew who that was. Like that's a big fun moment, but also I want more opportunities to have the moments where the people would know who that was and flip out are there, and more like it's really, I think, a process of thinking through like all that we've created and what would be fun moments, what would be two characters we know that would be great to meet each other, what are things, what are the natural things that like would bring this particular character storyline home. Like I think we can start thinking about those and finding ways to like take all these things all these like threads we've pulled out and see how many we can weave together in interesting ways. So I think that's really in like the improv format where you're contributing and creating. Like it's easy to create a bunch of stuff, but I feel like the coolest improv moments are when you take two things that were generated a while ago and all of a sudden they like connect in a moment that makes you go, of course, like what Jeff just described with Bartleby and Biscuit being together doing tech stuff. Of course. Oh, that's so awesome. If we never saw Biscuit or Bartleby again, just knowing that they were, and I'm sure we will, but just knowing that they were together doing that is such a like, oh, perfect. So I feel like there's just so much potential for stuff like that. And like, you know, if it comes down to a final team, you know, how we get down to that team, I think is a lot of like, this person goes down doing this person goes off to do this other thing, this person gets killed sacrificing for this person finally gets the cheese shop that he always wanted. That kind of stuff will be fun to think about.
Yeah, I think it's a good point. Like we're at the point where the characters are maybe all the characters we're going to meet. I mean, we'll meet some new characters, I'm sure, like NPCs and stuff, but maybe there's the final windup of whatever this ultimate evil or greatest threat or something like that. There's definitely seeds and we've talked a little bit offline of like what that could be and who that could be, or if it's one person or several people, and sort of the master plan of the Platinum Syndicate. And I love, by the way, the idea, which I don't know if this was Jeff's idea in season 4, and it was kind of revealed in season 4, of basically like all of the elites are just having a battle royale of like who can win, like who's going to survive the longest. It was sort of like started in season 3 with what's his name, Captain Drop Off making his power play, and you know, like I'm gonna take over this thing, and then like that didn't work, and then like the two Gohal and Decius going against each other in season 4 of like, oh, okay, this is interesting. So that's
idea
that's a cool concept of just like they have their own thing and they don't even care what's happening with the good guys, but now they kind of do because they're hunting them. They're like, now we know who everybody is because of the traitor knights, and now they're hunting and they're trying to eliminate.
That idea of the kind of like battle royale came from me, and it wasn't like a big idea that I had. It was like, it was creating some rules of trying to fill in the backstory of the Platinum Syndicate. Like the idea of like the way to really overcome this like group of realms that had held together for a long, long time would be attack them all at the same time with different forces, and then they couldn't help each other, and so you could overwhelm them. And then it was just really just following through some logic of like, how would that come together? How would a bunch of bad guys get together and agree to do that, like what would happen? And it really just came out of following through that logic of like, well, the kind of person that would agree to do that, you know, they're not the kind of people who want to take over a whole realm. Like, they're not all going to be like, okay, we did it. Good job. High five, guys. They're definitely going to eventually turn on each other. So whether it was the agreement or just inevitable, it just kind of like fell through to like, this is going to happen. Like, what if that was the plan? What if that was the plan? We're going to agree to do this. And then, you know,
it's like
last
they're
person
playing
standing wins.
Evil Risk and Evil Survivor at the same time. And it's just, they're making alliances and then they're eventually just going to stab each other in the back.
Yeah.
But also, I like the idea that people stepping back for a second, like, I think all three of us and even Jen and Matt, when they've done their one shots, like, you know, we're doing all these little Easter eggs and fun moments and stuff for us, you know, and if other people that listen enjoy that and they're following along and they're able to be like, oh, I like that callback from season one or whatever, great. But like, ultimately it's just, if we're having a good time and we get it, like, you know, that's, I'm doing it I'm coming up with these moments because I hope y'all get it. And I hope that the audience gets it too, but I'm not gonna, you know, you're my friends are the ones that are the ones I'm creating the story for, or like you're creating the story for us, you know, when you're in charge of it.
Yeah. So know your place, audience. Okay.
Know your place.
You know, it's not about you.
We're still waiting for that
Please
roll
like and
table
subscribe.
wiki that somebody can make, you know, like
jump
all the
on in
different
there.
characters.
Well, towards the end of season 4, because everybody was going to be in with each other, I actually had to sit down and create a spreadsheet that I had each of you fill out to put down on paper who knew which character and at what when.
Yeah, known of, met in person, seen, like, there was this whole thing like a spreadsheet of like going across.
Right, because like it was like I don't remember who knows. I don't know what every character knows, and so it's we had a good wiki going, hundreds of pages that are just stub articles.
Well, this concludes DM's Nook.
Yeah, we'll come up with a name sooner or later.
DM Cranny.
DM's Cranny. Yes.
That sounds dirty.
Cranny sounds dirtier than Nook. Yeah, I think
like
it does.
Cranny.
The DM pit.
The DM crevice, the DM orifice. None of these work. Like most DMs, we've talked way too long and we need to make room for players. Well, we'll give way to whatever else is included in this special. Great to talk to you all, and great to talk to you DMs,
Likewise.
Jeff and Chris, and we'll see you at the next session. Hello once again, Knights of the Rolled Table. We now have our current cast assembled, all 6 of us in season 5, and we're just going to wrap this episode up a little bit with some a look towards the future. You've heard everybody reminisce about some favorite moments, so y'all, we've done 100 episodes. In the next however many episodes, what are some things that you would like to see? What do you look forward to as we continue this grand adventure?
Space travel.
Obviously.
D&D in space. I'm in. Let's do it.
If Fast and the Furious could do it, we easily could.
Wait, they did what?
No, that was the thing. That's we could do a full podcast episode about.
We should definitely model the rest of the podcast on the Fast and the Furious universe.
I mean, the last episode. Spoilers.
We're a family.
Yeah.
Family.
Also, we just did our kids D&D episode, and I feel like they should just be regulars, and maybe we should all be background characters because it was pretty epic.
I'm not against it. Yeah, I think it's it was a lot better content than we're able to provide.
I feel like the plot will go forward a lot faster with them because they're constantly
they get bored.
This is what happens.
Speed,
there was a point at the end when they were like, and then we did it.
And it's over.
Yeah.
Yay! wait.
Zach's like, wait.
Guys, I made some denouement.
Okay, but leaving space and children temporarily out of it, are there things you look forward to? Characters you want to meet? That you want to meet like each other? Are there parts of stories that you want to return to? What do you envision happening? What's one thing that you want to pack into the next 100 episodes?
I would love to find out what's happened to some of our player characters that we haven't seen in a while, just to find out like where they've been. Yeah, Coach would be a great example of that. That would be awesome.
I want to find out what happened to Lyra.
Yeah.
Yes.
Jess Burton is back on. Hear that, Jess?
That's your call to action. There you go.
She probably
Get over
doesn't,
here.
but I will text her
Putting
right
the
now.
conch on.
I'd
like to get her hubby on too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Get some
I'm
ATV.
curious about the just the Knights organization in general, because it seems like they've gone underground and several of them have been missing, and like there's this sort of Legion of Doom, other like evil organization, the Platinum Syndicate, and it's just I'm looking forward to, as a player and a DM, to see how it all comes together and what that means, and who's in charge and everything like that.
I'm looking forward to that as a player. As a DM, I'm terrified of it because we're going to have to figure out trying to make that all work. But that's definitely going to be a collective effort, a DM summit.
Ooh,
Jen,
what if
were you
we
gonna
do?
say?
I
Go ahead,
mean,
Jen.
I think all great series needs some prequels. So, let's see young, I don't know.
Young
I do want to do
Silius.
flashbacks. We did that like
Pod racing.
how the first episode, the first season characters met, which was fun. I would love to do like Massimo Romara and who's their monk friend from season 2?
Oh, yeah. Callum.
Like Callum, yes. Like their crew getting together when they were young would be fun to go back to, or various flashbacks would be neat to revisit. I really have fun just dropping into different like corners of our little world and seeing.
We could go back 100 years and see God, what's the name? What's the silly name of the inventor that
Whoop-de-doo.
Yeah, Whoop-de-doo, and how
the
he
fall
made
of Whoop-de-doo.
how he made Carver and like these killer Warforged and the first battle, it'd be very like Game of Thrones prequel kind of, like the whole like previous generation of knights.
Could be fun.
Knights of the Old Realms.
The founding of the knights, the founding of the order. We're tapping into something here.
I think we could have some fun with a villains season, like a season where we all play characters in the villainous organization. That could be kind of cool.
I'm in.
Cut that from the podcast, because that's a great idea. Cut that from the publish.
We're not brainstorming. We're just doing dumb predictions.
I'm saying it would be fun. How about a future, right? Like we jump to all of our characters' kids.
All of the current characters are very old or dead. And then this is like the new generation of knights.
I am old.
Or we could do like the what's the one? Is it the Expendables, or like have our characters but like as old people? Like I'm getting too old for this.
Well, I mean,
you have to get the team back together.
the Marvel old man, like like old person series, or like Death of series. Like we could do like a whole thing with that.
Ooh.
This is their last adventure.
Ooh, or we could do What If style.
Oh yeah, What If? What If would be fun.
Zombies.
What if Gravely hadn't made that shot arrow and they're just standing outside with the arrow and the gate, and they're just standing outside the gate, and
everyone's just dead.
What if the camouflage worked?
Hey, I think we figured out it did work.
All right, we've tapped into many great ideas. These and many more will be featured, maybe not, in the next
Probably
mini
not.
episodes. It has been a huge honor to do this mini with all of you.
What
Thank
if
you
creme
so
brulee
much.
with a rock actually took off as a delicacy?
I am down for that. Jarek would be so down for the alternative history where either the rock didn't fall in the creme brulee or it worked out very well for him.
What if snake dogs
From then on, he was like dominant over
Yeah.
Sarso. Like,
What if snake dogs were a preferred pet inside Marcatia?
Oh, the
snake No.
dogs. Very trendy.
Do you have a snake dog? Mine's called Goofy.
I just had it groomed. It's molting.
It's shedding and molting at the same time.
Very in.
Sorry, Zach. I talked over your.
I was trying to wrap it up all nice, but
Go ahead, do it again.
join us for the next 100 episodes where
You know,
some
two of the
these...
things I was thinking about were that we could, have like
You
more
don't have
contests
to
about
think, do
cheese
you?
And,
Jeff.
yeah,
Jeff.
what's up? What's up?
Do you hear Zach? He was trying to wrap it up.
Oh, I'm sorry, Zach. Please
Zach, I think
do
you
the
were on
wrap
mute.
up again.
Anyway, well, I just want to thank all of you and
You're really
invite
having
you all.
a little bit more Jarek and Massimo. I just like that. I feel like could be its own one-off series. I would watch it. Like maybe
Jen,
both of
Jen.
them being dads at the same time would be funny.
That would be good.
With like
Dad
baby Bjorns, with like the
Yeah.
like metal armor baby Bjorns, and
Yeah,
that's
like
in.
it's them
Uh-huh.
like with their kids, like it like versus the world.
Hey,
You could
Jarek
even
doesn't
do
have
like
a kid, does he?
Not
I
yet.
mean, not yet, but like him and
Nobody
Ramar
knows of.
settling down, or I mean, yeah.
Wait, Jarek's with Maramara? Uh-oh.
No.
I'm sorry.
One day Jarek will have a kid. He might have kids. You don't know.
What episode did I miss?
None of them have kids, but in the future they will.
Well, let's just turn it into a soap opera.
I'm not really Jarek. I'm Jarek's evil twin.
Derek.
I mean, that would make it really interesting if Jarek and maybe Jarek and Massimo like they throw some weird parties and like
Maybe they're just a throuple. I don't know. You know, these things happen.
Anyway, that and other ideas may be involved in future episodes, but until then, thank you for joining us for these 100+ episodes, and we will see you for the next many more. Anybody gonna interrupt? No? Okay. All right.
hooray!
It has been a true honor to join all of you in person for a few years, and then the world ended, and then we figured out videos and and we're now connecting. It's been I think it's been huge for all of our mental health to be able to like link up and join each other in this fantasy world throughout pandemics and everything in between. So thank you all out there who've been listening, and go out and make life.
I have an idea.
Okay, Chris.
Let's
Chris,
we
did
can
you
say
see this
go
one?
out and make life an adventure, but we each say one word in that, and we all say adventures to get together.
Go
out
and
make
life and
adventure.
adventure.